Shannon, what do you think? How will this impact your guy LeBron and his Lakers?
Well, Skip, it doesn't appear that Russ wants to be with the Lakers any more than the Lakers want Russ to be with the Lakers. And Russ says, look, they don't want me. I don't want to be here. I need to move on. The agent is saying, Russ, you do $47 million. Just embrace the role, whatever role that may be, third option, playing defense, whatever the role is, because there are no good alternatives outside of the Lakers. It seems to me, from what I can gather, Skip, even teams that are willing to trade for Russ because they want that first-round pick, or maybe the 2 first-round picks, 2027, 2029, that the Lakers have, they're willing to take Russ and those 2 first-round picks. But guess what comes with that, Skip? A buyout. Can you imagine what that would do to Skip? That is a top 75 player. That is a former NBA MVP. And team says, nah, we don't want you. We wanted the first-round picks, and so in order to extrapolate them from the Lakers, we took you on, but we want to buy you out. We want no parts of you in this organization past getting those first-round picks. And Russ doesn't want that. So the agent doesn't want that to happen, because I believe the agent has the best interest. I like to think all agents have the best interest of players, regardless of the sport, Skip, in mind. He's saying, Russ, bruh, do you realize you went from OKC to Houston? Houston gave up a ton of first-round picks to get you. You went from Houston to Washington. Washington gave up first-round picks to get you. You went from Washington to the Lakers, and they gave up first-round picks and players to get you. Do you realize that'll be 5 and 6 years, Russ, that you have been traded, and now you're running out of options? I don't believe there are teams that out there that are willing to trade for Russ and say, Skip, you know what? Yeah, Russ is a difference maker for us, and we need to get Russ, and here we go. So the agent says, you know what? We've had 14 years, or how many years they were together. You know what? We don't agree on this one. Let's just go ahead and part ways. You do what's in the best interest of Russ. It seems to me that all of a sudden now you're not willing to take my advice or listen to the advice that I want to give you. So I think the best thing for us to do, there are no hard feelings. It's just, we just don't agree. The best thing for us to do is to part ways, and we move forward. It makes it a little tricky now, Skip, because teams that are willing to trade, possibly trade for Russ and possibly buy him out, who are they going to call? Because, Skip, you know this comes now. Remember, when you don't have an agent, guess what the other team going to tell you, Skip? Bro, we tried to buy you out. But what about the young players? Well, I can help a team. Nah, we don't want that. So this is where they are. Russ doesn't want to be a Laker. The Lakers don't want Russ to be a Laker. The agent thought Russ' best interest was to stay. Russ says, I want to go. And here we are. So, you thought last year was fireworks and going to be an adventure. Whew, this is Waterworld times 15.
Waterworld?
Yeah, the water park, a theme.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, not the movie. Hell nah. Hell nah.
I actually like that movie, and a lot of people
You might be the only one that liked that movie.
Well, I thought it was pretty good, and I watched part of it the other day and still liked it.
You see, you had no sports on television.
A shot at Waterworld. Okay, it is now my turn, and I'm going to unleash on all the above. I am shocked on so many levels by this development. Here's the first level. I was shocked that Russ, in fact, according to Thad Foucher, the agent, wants out. I had no idea he wanted out because his body language, everything that he had been doing of late, suggested he was back happy and content in L.A. because he had a new sheriff in town in control in Darvin Ham, who had gone completely out of his way to re-ingratiate with Russ, to take him to dinner.
Spoken glowing terms about it.
Glowing terms, and I might have missed somebody else at Darvin Ham's introductory press session here in Los Angeles, but the only player I saw at least prominently displayed was Russell Westbrook.
I agree.
So it seemed like Russ, who was there with his chest out, said, I'm back. I got this. It's my team again. And obviously he grew up a Laker fan, just a born and raised diehard to the core Laker fan. And his dream came true last year and it turned into a nightmare. But now it's Frankie V's fault. But I got Darvin Ham. And look at me. and I'm going to go to Summer League, and I'm going to show up, even though the King is holding court down there on the baseline.
On one side.
I'm going to go sit right by the bench, and during at least one timeout huddle, I'm going to participate in the huddle, and I'm going to tell Scottie Pippen Jr., you got to do this, got to do that, you got to look for this, got to look for that. And it looked like that he was more part of the team than at that point LeBron was. That it looked like LeBron was distancing himself from the team, the hierarchy, and obviously anything close to the bench area, because it took the whole hierarchy going down to the baseline to at least exchange pleasantries with, starting with Pelinka and obviously Rambis and everybody from the organization had to go down there to see him. But Russ is front and center, looking like he's back in business as a key part of the basketball team. So this was a shock to me because everything had indicated he's right back where he wanted to be 1 year ago, and he's scheduled to make $47 million. And the best place to earn that $47 million is right here in L.A. with the team he grew up loving. So to me, this is a shocker. And I'm going to make a point here, a strong point. We have now only heard from Thad Foucher about this. We have not heard from Russ. Russ isn't one to make statements, but maybe he'll drop a little bombshell here in the near future. I don't know. I'd like to hear his side of this story.
Okay.
So now we have Thad Foucher going to Woj with a statement, a lengthy statement that came across as nothing but damage control to me, because he has been a prominent agent for a long time. They've been together since Russ was drafted as a diamond in the rough, as the 4th overall pick out of UCLA.
Correct. 14
long years together. And all of a sudden, Thad Foucher is saying, in effect, in his big statement to Woj, don't blame me for this. It feels like he got fired by Russ, but I don't know that. It could just be they had a mutual parting of the ways. But it felt like this man had the audacity to fire me, and I got to go to Woj to defend my reputation so that word doesn't get out that I somehow did Russ wrong, because he's saying, as you pointed out, he said, I'm going to read the one paragraph, now with a possibility of a 4th trade in 4 years. The marketplace is telling the Lakers they must add additional value with Russell in any trade scenario. And even then, such a trade might require Russell to immediately move on from the new team via buyout. My belief is this type of transaction only serves to diminish Russell's value, and his best option is to stay with the Lakers and embrace the starting role and support from Darvin Ham. Well, yes, it is. I mean, clearly, not for you, not for LeBron, not for the organization, you could argue.
But for Russ's
sake, there's only one way to go here, and that is you're still going to be the starting point guard for the Lakers.
Right.
And you should be just fine to start the year. Now, it's up to you to live up.
Right.
But obviously, this felt like severe, supreme damage control from a Thad Foucher who's just saying, I'm going to distance myself from this because I tried. But who goes this public? Usually when there's a parting of the way with an agent, they want it very low-key and quiet.
Have you ever heard Thad Foucher speak? I've never heard him speak. I've never either. I mean,
I know his name, but
yes,
I don't see him. I can't visualize. In fact, I had to look him up last night. Oh yeah, I remember that guy.
You get the Mark Bartelsteins and you get all these other guys, prominent guys, and they saying this and they saying that. I've never heard him speak.
No.
For this man to speak in this manner, and it wasn't like, oh, I can't, this, yada, yada, yada. He was very controlled. He says, I believe that this will be 4 trades in 4 years. And then the Lakers are going to have to include additional compensation in order to move him. I believe this would do more damage to Russ than good. And because now we can't come to an agreement, because all the years past, Russ has listened to what I had to say. And I've accommodated him. When he wanted to move on from OKC, I went and I made it happen. When he wanted to move on from the Rockets, I made it happen. When he wanted to move on, and probably most agents would have told Russ, this is a bad situation for you, Russ. You think going home is a homecoming, but the Lakers are not like that. The Lakers, Laker Nation, know basketball. They know winning basketball. They know great players. If you cannot give them, and he gave them exactly what he's been giving them, turnover, 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 but the triple-double masked it. Well, the Lakers like, nah, we can see right through that, bro. You jumping up in the air every night, spinning around with nowhere to go, and you turn the ball over. 65 straight games the exact same way. Boo, and don't shoot because you can't shoot. I believe the agent tried to prepare Russ for this. But, Skip, you know the thing that sometimes makes us great, it makes us most fallible. And Russ was unwilling to listen or to hear that. But the number one thing that I've talked to a lot of players around the league and a lot of prominent people around the NBA, the one thing that always keep coming up is accountability. Why won't Russ accept accountability for the way he played? He won't do it. It's Frank Vogel's fault. It was the role I had, except you played bad.
I thought he took shots. They were between the line shots at both LeBron and AD on his way out.
He absolutely did.
Okay. So now you have a fairly prominent agent here distancing himself, saying, I want no part of this mess going forward. And please don't blame me for this, because this is like a preemptive strike against a man who is blaming everybody out there except himself.
That's why I don't believe he got fired. I believe he took the initiative upon himself.
It could be.
Because you see, you just said it's a preemptive strike. Because you know what was coming. I will get blamed if it doesn't happen, or I go somewhere and I get bought out. I'm going to get blamed. So, no, you're not going to put this one on me.
So even I've been caught in the crossfire of late, because both Russ and his wife have been taking shots at me for shaming their family name by calling him Westbrook, which I've only been calling him since 2012, along with the rest of the world's been calling him that all year long. Last year, all he did was he was the worst three-point shooter statistically in the entire league. I didn't do that.
No.
I had no hand in that. Russ had complete hand in that.
We're going to talk about the rookie when they was playing this game.
Yeah.
Russ.
Yeah. Okay. So the point is, to your point, he led the league in turnovers per game much of the year until he sat the last 3 games. He would have earned that dishonor also. But now the point is, and the shock to me is, if Russ truly wants out of L.A., and I'm not sure he does, but that's what the agent is saying.
Yes.
So I'm sure their conversations have headed in that direction. If Russ does want out, he just did more severe damage to his ability to get traded, because the Lakers were selling it pretty well that, no, we're very happy with him.
Yes.
And how many times did Darvin Ham say, don't sleep on how great this man is. Nobody plays harder. Nobody can do blah, 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 blah. And he detailed all the great things that Russ can do.
Right.
And we're onward and we are upward with Russ as our starting point guard. Well, that did serve to perhaps elevate some of his trade stock, some of it. And in this case, now that it's clear Russ wants out, we get to the buyout situation. Well, I'm here to tell you, there's one man in the world I'm pretty sure is not going to allow himself to be bought out by anybody, and that is Russell Westbrook. He is as proud and as delusional as any athlete I know going forward right now. So why would he say, sure, go ahead and trade me to, we're going to talk about these teams later, but there's been a lot of speculation about San Antonio, Utah. There's been speculation about Oklahoma City, some Sacramento that I've heard and read. And would one of these teams want Russ to play him for $47 million next year?
No.
Well, that's not the goal. The goal is to get him out.
Skip, why would I want Russ around my young players? To be stubborn, to have no accountability. I don't want him around De'Aaron Fox. I don't want him anywhere near those guys. So that's the problem that he has. He's so stuck in his ways. He's so stubborn. He's so bullheaded. They're saying, yes, we won't, because it's about the compensation. It's not about him. But do like John Wall, Skip. John Wall accepted a buyout. Went got $13.5 million from the Clippers for 2 years. Okay, Russ, if you're that guy, and everybody wants to have it, because all these NBA players, Russ is a top 75. He's a former MVP. All that's withstanding. No question about it. He accomplished all those things. Where is he right now? He's not that same player. He doesn't have the same athleticism. He's always been inefficient. So as you get, if you're inefficient as a 27, 30-year-old, how the hell do you get more efficient as you get older and your athleticism wanes, Skip? When Michael and Kobe, the athleticism, they couldn't levitate and stay in the air for 10 seconds. They developed that fadeaway. Russ, did you see Russ hitting the corner of the backboard on the fadeaway? Do you see him shooting air balls? So now.
And he used to be a decent free throw shooter, and now he was the 4th worst free throw shooter. He's under 70%.
So now, Skip, how as he becomes an older player and he's not as athletic as he once was, he can't attack the rim. And when he does attack, man, now what?
Okay, so what good team, what contending team would want Russell Westbrook at $47 million? It's insane. Nobody's going to want that.
I buy him out, but I do get first-round draft picks.
Okay.
That's what I want.
Now we're down to Jeanie. Jeanie's pretty dug in on this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sacrifice my future when LeBron won't be part of my long-term future.
Right.
Because you're talking about 27 and 29. We're
Right.
at 22.
Right.
Right? Well, LeBron will be long gone by then. And Jeanie, I'm assuming, God willing, I'm going to knock on wood, will still be owning and operating the Lakers. She's looking at it like, why should I give up my future for LeBron's present?
Well, somebody else will be in that chair, Jeanie, if you don't start winning more games. If you don't win games between 9 and 2027, the likelihood of you being in charge of 27 and 29.
But I think she's extremely proud and has a hard time swallowing that pride, which is what our father taught her not to do. And she's saying, I went with what LeBron wanted a year ago. He wanted Russell. AD wanted Russell. We got Russell. But it was a 2-year commitment because he was owed $44 and $47 million.
Yep.
So it was a 2-year deal,
Yes.
not just a 1-year
Yes.
deal. So now I'm not going to cave in for LeBron a second time in a row and mortgage my future for LeBron's 1 or 2 years here in L.A.
Yeah, but Skip, we've all done that. We've all, whether we purchased something or entered into a relationship that we thought it was going to be one thing, and it comes to find out it's not what we thought. But in a lot of situations, Skip, we're able to get out of that situation. You know what? I'm just going to cut my losses. Babe, I'm sorry. It's not working out for you. It's not working out for me. You're not happy. I'm not happy. And before we spend another day being unhappy, let's just part ways. Well, it doesn't quite work like this when you got $91 million tied up in a guy and he's unwilling to change anything about himself in the relationship. See, Russ is unwilling to change anything about his play.
Agreed.
So therein lies the problem, Skip. If your partner comes to you and say, well, Shannon, you're going out too much. I mean, bro, come on now. You're hanging out with your friends. You're coming in at 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to do anything with me and the kids. We don't go on vacation anymore.
Or sound like you've been there.
No, Skip, there you go. Why you keep telling my business?
I don't know. You're telling your business.
No. So, Skip, if those things, you say, you know what, babe, you're right. So all of a sudden, Skip, I say, you know what, babe? Hey, let's go on vacation. Let's take the kid to the amusement park. Let's do yada, yada, X, Y, Z. Okay, things turned around. But I was willing to make changes, or she was willing to make changes. Well, if they say, well, this is what we need to do, and you're not willing to make changes, you're telling me you don't want this relationship to work. And just say that. Just say that.
It's like Russ keeps saying to the world, do you know who I am?
Yes.
I'm a top 75. Well, not last year.
No. You got to update that. That's the thing about sports, Skip. You got to update that resume. We in sports, what, 6 months? Basketball is what, 6, 9 months thing. So every 9 months, you got to update your resume. And Russ, you haven't updated your resume. And I keep telling you, the Laker basketball is different than most basketball because, Skip, they've won so much and they've had so many great players. There's a reason why probably 5 of the top 10 players that ever played is from that organization. So they know great basketball. They know winning basketball. That's not what Russ produced. And Russ thought because he was born in L.A., he was going to get a special exemption from playing bad. And they won't allow that to happen. They just won't. Skip, you remember when LeBron first got here, I was like, man, they're going to be happy they got LeBron. Don't you put no murals up. LeBron ain't done nothing for the Lakers. Don't you talk about him above Kobe. He hadn't done anything for the Lakers. Don't you do that. Russ, you being born.
Well, he's homegrown, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they don't care. You ain't won no titles.
He's not straight out of Compton, but it's close. It's close.
You better win a title.
Yep.
If you want the Laker Nation to embrace you.
I got it. Final lines here from Thad Foucher. He says, Russell is a first ballot Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame player and will prove that again before he is retired. So he added on one big positive note. Thad, if you truly believe that he will prove that again, this would not have happened.
Right.
You would have figured out how to wade through your irreconcilable differences, right? You would have navigated it.
Right.
Instead, he's saying, I don't want to associate with this anymore because I'm guessing that behind the scenes, Russ is a nightmare to deal with.
Of course, Skip, and after you dealt with somebody for this length of time, man, I ain't got to deal with this no anymore. I'm done.
Done. Yeah, and I'm sure that's how LeBron feels. That's how Jeanie feels.
Yes.
But they got to find somebody else who says, we're not done. We'll take him.
I believe somebody will take him, but they're going to buy him out, and he doesn't want that.
He doesn't want that. He will refuse to be bought out.
Right.
So good luck with this. I just think he made himself even less tradable.
Right, exactly.
Guys, Thad has been a friend of mine for a long time. He comes from New Orleans, very humble roots. You can't find much about him because he's always been a behind-the-scenes guy,
Yep.
focusing on promoting his clients first. So this is a very interesting situation, that's for sure.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.